Why do you think you're the most qualified to win the Democratic nomination for governor? What is unique about you? What is the major characteristic that will make you a better governor than any of the other candidates?
Well, this campaign is really about my vision for our state. My campaign is not against or against any person or any other thing. My campaign is really about what I can offer this state, leveraging my experience as a former school board chair of one of the largest school districts in the state, a state that took the largest tax increase in any school district in the state under Act 60. I passed 6 budgets. It wasn't by accident. It was by trying to explain what we provided in terms of outcomes and what that would require in terms of inputs. We had a tough time, but we passed the budget, as I said, under Act 60. It would be leveraging my experience as a member of a board of directors of one of the most successful software companies in this state called Vermont Systems. I've served on that board for over a decade. Leveraging my experience in founding the Vermont Aerospace and Aviation Association, being a champion for the $2 billion of economic development that happens in our state for aerospace, commercial aerospace, general aviation, aerospace manufacturing. It's leveraging my relationships that I've been able to build as your Lieutenant Governor, working collaboratively with members of the General Assembly, regardless of the party, working with the governor's team. I've been invited to serve on the governor's cabinet. That has not always been the case with previous lieutenant governors. And the one feedback that I've received as your lieutenant governor, it's great to have a lieutenant governor that works collaboratively with the governor to serve the people of Vermont, building relationships with the administration and all the hardworking state employees that work on behalf of you and the people of the state of Vermont. And it's also my experience as an airline pilot and a member of the Air Force Reserve that's taken me all over the world, literally. And as I travel all across the world, when I come back to Vermont, I have this great love for this state, this great appreciation for what this special place is, and I have a hunger to make our state even better. I know to be a successful state long term, we need to have better outcomes in education. I know that we need to have a state that welcomes new businesses and fights tooth and nail for the companies that we have in our state. So it would be a combination of my passion, my commitment to this state, as a school board chair, as a father of 4 children that I hope will have the opportunities that I had. When I graduated from the University of Vermont, I had a choice of 3 jobs. I'm motivated to give the next generation that same type of opportunity. And quite frankly, I think we can do a better job. We have a great state. We're the safest state in the nation, the healthiest state in the nation, the smartest state in the nation. But we have a perception that we're not as business friendly as we can. And I think we can do better, and it would be my pleasure. I'm motivated to step up and run for governor to make our state a great state and an even better state.
So how would you describe Vermont? Pro-business or anti-business or somewhere in between?
Well, let me tell you how others describe Vermont. Forbes magazine rated Vermont 47th in the country in terms of business friendliness. I didn't particularly like that, but when the last legislative session overrode a governor's veto for the first time in the history of the state of Vermont, never happened before, imposed new taxes, $26 million in new taxes, the world watched. Vermont businesses watched and outside people watched. Forbes Business Magazine, when we raised those taxes, moved our ranking from 36th in the country to 47th in the country. I picked up the phone and I called the editor of Forbes Magazine and said, hey, how come you moved our state from 36th to 47th? And more importantly, what can I do as Vermont's Lieutenant Governor to move us in a different direction? And the editor of Forbes Magazine said, Brian, I love Vermont. My wife is from Charlotte. I want to come back to Vermont. But there's 2 simple reasons why my magazine is rated you 47th in the country. The first reason is the fiscal climate. What kind of climate for your entrepreneurs and job creators, what kind of tax climate, what kind of message does your fiscal climate send to them? He said that's the first reason. The other reason is the regulatory climate. What type of rules and regulations? Are you sending green lights and red lights and no yellow lights? I was at a groundbreaking ceremony in Franklin County last week. It was so exciting to be there to break ground on a new 53-acre industrial park. Great opportunities, a field of dreams for the next generation. Bill Chaffee, the chairman of the Franklin County Industrial Development Corp, was there, and he said, you know, Brian, it's great to be here today. It took us 10 years to get the permits for this industrial park. So What I'm here to say is we can do better. We have the opportunity to do things differently. We have the responsibility to think creatively, to transform our state, to be able to understand that the world is changing. Other states are doing things better. Other countries are doing things better. We have a great environmental legacy. I would not seek to change the rules, but to figure out easier ways, more simple ways to allow entrepreneurs and people to do what they want to do. So that's my response to.
Are Vermont's taxes too high?
Absolutely, they're too high. There's no question they're too high. And if you look at the rankings, we're a state that, and one of the reasons they're too high is not a fault of Vermonters. And it's not a fault of even, I would say, the policymakers. I was at the Congressional Budget Office with the Lieutenant Governor's Association about 4 months ago, and they're calling this the lost decade. Our revenues as a nation have fallen off. Our revenues at the state of Vermont, we don't expect to get to the 2013 level, until the 2006 level until 2013. As a consequence of our fact that our revenues have fallen off, we cannot raise fares. If you raise fares in an airline business trying to compete with a low-cost competitor, you're going to lose market share. The same thing happens in state government. And so we're going to have to figure out how to do things more efficiently, more effectively. Challenges for change was a great first step. And we're going to have to work to be more competitive as a state.
If you had been governor this year, what's one thing that would have been different or handled differently in this legislative session?
I like the fact that the capital gains tax was rolled back, a partial rollback. I would have done it differently. And I would propose as a candidate for governor to provide a new way for capital gains. I'm less interested in dividend and interest income from Wall Street for wealthy Vermonters. I'm more interested in saying, if you invest $1 new capital in the state of Vermont to create a job, you will not be taxed as a consequence of that. I made a pitch to Northern Power, which brought $100 million of new capital to design and build North Wind 100s in Barre, Vermont, at the Northern Power facility. I toured that facility when it was an empty Bombardier commuter rail car facility. It was empty then. Now there's 155 Vermonters producing North Wind 100s. We're looking to design and produce the North Wind 450. We're going to need new capital to do that. A capital gains tax is a tax against new jobs. So I would have advocated, and I will advocate for an incentive to put new capital in our state to grow new jobs and new opportunities.
And maybe this would be the answer to that, but what's one policy that you would change to implement to create jobs in Vermont?
Well, as I said, it's kind of a general theme. If you're GE Rutland, when you talk to the plant manager GE Rutland, he said, Brian, when I'm benchmarked with it against other sister states, other sister facilities around this country, and I'm trying to bring new work into GE Rutland, the property tax is an impediment for that. When I'm in GS Precision in the southwestern Brattleboro, Vermont, the CEO of GS, where they have 300 plus manufacturing jobs, said, Brian, it's really tough for me right on the banks of the Connecticut River to compete with an income tax. And it's disappointing to me when I'm in central Vermont and I meet with the leadership team of a world-class plastics manufacturer, and he says, my entire leadership team lives in New Hampshire. That's embarrassing to me as a Vermonter. We should have policies that embrace high wealth individuals to stay in our state and not to leave our state. And we need fair, progressive taxes that don't encourage people to leave our state. The world is becoming more mobile. We need to retain our high wealth individuals, our very creative individuals, and our small companies. We need to encourage our small companies to stay in our state. And as I talked to a cheesemaker in Bennington, Vermont, her name was Joanne, I said, Joanne, how can we grow more? How can we at the state help you grow more jobs? And she said to me, Brian, she said, if my taxes were lower, I could hire more Vermonters, I could buy more Vermont milk, and I could make more cheese and sell it to people who want to buy my cheese. And I hear that from dealer.com. I hear it from Green Mountain Coffee Roasters. Green Mountain Coffee Roasters has a new facility in Tennessee. There's no income tax in Tennessee. And when you talk about growth, tax policy is about incentives. We need to give the right incentives to grow our state and grow And we need the revenue. We need the revenue to educate the next generation of Vermonters. We need the revenue